Welcome to the Heavenly Treasury broadcast where we help believers achieve God's financial abundance for your life. Today we're going to continue the series, Money versus Wealth, Part 3. All right, I thought I was going to be done with Part 1, but guess what? Here we are with Part 3. Part 2 is about marriage and how marriage can help money versus wealth. Today we're going to talk about children. Now again, I know the audience that I'm streaming to is likely not going to have children or at least even desire to have children. If that's you, stop watching this right now. Go to my YouTube page. I have a whole video on children and why you should have them and how God can help you do it. So if that's you right now, go ahead and do that instead. Okay? And then this one will make such greater sense, such more it'll hit your spirit a lot better than you would otherwise. Because again, if you're like the rest of the world and you watch all the programming that you're getting, all you're going to hear is kids are bad. Kids are bad. Don't have kids. Just you and your spouse can together have one income or two incomes, one house, and have all this money left over for you to have so much fun that you can't even possibly deal with it. And you know what? Don't have kids because they're just a waste. That's all you're programmed with. God has a very different story for you. God has a very different outlook on children, okay? And I could go into this a whole another session, but I've already done that. Just as the first thing that hits my spirit when I hear that is when Jesus said, if any of you hurt these little ones or steer these little ones away from me, it would be better for you to have a millstone tossed around your neck and thrown into the sea. Basically saying, if you hurt the kids, you should die. Straight from Jesus' mouth. Okay? So that ought to put a wrench in your Jesus love me, this I know. All right? Now, he does love us. He does love us a lot. But there are people who can do things that really provoke the anger of God and of Jesus. Jesus did get angry quite a bit. All right? A lot of it had to do with money when he went into the money changers and flipped the tables. A lot of that, yes. So again, not getting down this rabbit trail today, but I do have other content that is focused entirely on children, why you should have them, and how they can benefit you in your walk with life. All right? Because there are blessings for having children. There are, and God is very clear about that. So if you're not sure what those are, go back and watch my other video. But today, we're going to talk about how children are really affected in this money versus wealth conversation, because money is the stuff you transact with every single day. We talk about why money exists, what you can do about it, how you can use it as a tool to improve your life and increase you the way the Lord wants you to. But on top of that, how to build wealth on top of that. All right. So that's what I was talking about in the prior couple of videos on this section on broadcast on this topic. Today, we're going to talk about kids. All right. I didn't think I was going to do a third session. I didn't think I was doing a second session, but here we are. Okay. So remember, the first key when it talks about money versus wealth and your children is that wealth is power. It is power, okay? The person with the wealth does have all of the power in your land. Wherever you are, the most powerful people in your country are not your elected officials. They are not your judges. They are not your policemen. They're not necessarily your CEOs. They are the wealthy people. Whoever the wealthy people are the people that run your country, okay? Now, again, wealth is power, and throughout the Bible, particularly Old Testament, because the New Testament is really about the new covenant, how we're supposed to live, what Jesus did to kind of improve on the old covenant, and how his death and resurrection grafted us into all these great blessings for us, and how to live a proper Christian life, and how to grow the body of Christ. That's all well and good, and believe me, it's very, very important. The Old Testament, however, it should not be thrown away, because there are a lot of things we can learn about that, because society has not changed from Old Testament times to now, and how nations conquer each other. Now, the methods may have changed. They didn't have nuclear weapons in the Bible's age. They couldn't have dropped a nuke on Jerusalem. The Babylonians did not drop a nuke on Jerusalem, and all of a sudden the Jews got wiped out, and now here come the Babylonians to take over the promised land. That didn't happen. They did it with swords and spears and arrows. All right? So again, the methods changed, but the concepts still remain the same. So why is that? All right? Now think about this. Just a couple biblical examples, okay? The first one that I can think about is Jacob and the Hivites, which is in Genesis. And basically what happened is as soon as Jacob had his 12 sons, he also had a daughter beyond those 12 sons. And that daughter ended up getting raped by a neighboring tribe. And so both of these tribes were kind of, the Israelites and the Hivites, however you want to call it, were jockeying for position on how I can use this this incident, so to speak, if you want to call it that, whatever you want to call it, this rape to our advantage, so to speak. And so what ended up happening is Jacob and his 12 sons basically decided, okay, how can we take over their land by using this? All right. Yes, they're going to apologize for what happened. They're going to reprimand whoever did it and all that. But they were more surreptitious in their viewing of the situation because they wanted that wealth, because wealth was power at that time. So basically what they did is, you know what, we can join tribes together and we can live, coexist, so to speak, in this land. All you have to do is circumcise all your males. And so they did that. The Hivites circumcised all their males. And what happened was, because the circumcision was very painful for the man, all right, because really you're taking a knife. I don't even want to get there. You can use your imagination. I'm not going to go there here. But needless to say, it is not pleasant for the man after that procedure. Even a baby boy is not feeling fun after that procedure. So the day or two after that happened, Jacob and his 12 sons went in and conquered and killed all the men and took all the women and children and all the wealth. Okay? So that was one of the first parts of wealth. The next was kind of King Solomon, because he was very wealthy. King Solomon was one of the only kings, if not the only king, in 1st and 2nd Kings, 1st and 2nd Chronicles for the Israelites that did not have to fend off a foreign tribe. He didn't have to attack a foreign tribe. Yes, King David did a lot of the killing and a lot of the attacking for all that. All right, so his son didn't have to do that, but there were still neighboring tribes that could have invaded Israel if they wanted to, but they didn't. Why? Because King Solomon was wealthy. He was very, very, very wealthy. Okay? All right, so in the end, the scripture that I really want to focus on for wealth versus power is this. It's Proverbs 19:4, which is right there. Wealth adds many friends, but the poor is separated from his friend. All right? So when you're wealthy and you have a lot of friends, guess what? You have a lot of connections. You have a lot of people who want to help you. Why? Because you're wealthy. If you're wealthy, they want the wealth. Your friends want the wealth. All right? And maybe they don't want you to give them the wealth. If you're a lawyer, of course you want to have a wealthy client so they can pay you well. All right? Not everybody can pay $1,000 an hour for a top of the line lawyer. All right? Some people can, and they will, because they're wealthy. But at the same time, wealth does add many friends, which means you can get ahead just by knowing the wealthy person because they have connections. They can get you indoors that nobody else can. That's part of why wealth is power. Now, how does this have to do with children? Because when you have a lot of children, it is the survival of your nation. That's one of the biggest reasons why children are so important, is because it's the survival of your kind. Now, maybe you don't like your kind. Well, guess what? Most people do. It's biological nature to want you to be around your own, okay? And having children is going to continue moving that. But if you neglect that for some momentary gratification, so to speak, you're going to give your children a worse off life than you did. Because think about this. Think about how many generations prior to you did what they did so you can have the life you have now. Even if you're just totally destitute and your parents gave you nothing, you still are born into America. All right. Now guess what? This is not the America that it was 20 years ago, 40 years ago, 100 years ago. I get that. But at the same time, there's still a plethora of opportunity for a lot of folks in this country to achieve what the Lord has called you to achieve. And this is one of the few countries where you can be a Christian and worship the way you want to, even in public. All right? A lot of countries can't do that. Even in European countries, which once used to be basically Christian theocracies at one time, not a lot of the times you can't do that now. All right? London, as we speak, is, I think, either majority Muslim or it's going to be majority Muslim. Last time I checked, if you go to Saudi Arabia, you're not building a church. If you go to Yemen, you're not building a church. They're going to blow you up the moment you try to build it. All right? Now, if the Lord, Lord calls you there, you better be really sure that the Lord calls you there, if that's really the case. But guess what? That's likely what's gonna happen. So it doesn't matter where a majority of Arabs congregate, they're gonna want to be amongst their own. They're gonna want to promote their own religion, Allah and Islam and all of that. So that's one of the big reasons why they're able to do that, is because they have the power, they're unified, and they impose their will on the land that they have. It doesn't matter where it is, whether that's in Saudi Arabia, Yemen, United Arab Emirates, or even London. All right, doesn't matter. That's why wealth is power, and children are able to populate and grow everything that you have to be able to do that and to continue your way of life and give you that great blessing that the Lord has for you. Okay? So that's why children are so important when it comes to money versus wealth. It's not just so they can have a wealthy life. It's for the continuation of your nation. That's why it's so important, because you want your children to have the same opportunities that you did, if not better. All right. Even just about every single day, I tell my kids that you're going to surpass me in every way possible. I do. I tell them that. Even as much as I want to achieve for the Lord in this life, I tell them that consistently. Why? Because I know that they're never going to have to face the battles that I am right now. They're never going to have to face the battles that I am right now. And that's a good thing. They don't want to. Promise you. They don't want to. Okay? So that's the first part, is wealth is power. And that's why children are so vital to this. Again, on top of that, you think, now that you know that all those Old Testament blessings belong to you as a grafted into the seed of Abraham, all right? Now that they have all of that, guess what? Your children can now add more wealth with more of them than with less of them. Okay? Why? Deuteronomy 8:12. And that's right here.